History is supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be a long chain of causes and effects, where one event naturally leads to another. But every now and then, the universe hits us with something that feels like a glitch in reality. Coincidences so bizarre, so mathematically unlikely, that you can't help but wonder if someone, somewhere, is messing with the timeline. Today, we're diving into 7 historical coincidences that sound like fiction, yet are completely real. These aren't just odd moments or parallels. These are events so strange that historians, mathematicians, and skeptics still raise their eyebrows. Let's get into it. One, the man who survived. 2 atomic bombs. Most people consider surviving one nuclear explosion the definition of impossible luck. Tsutomu Yamaguchi somehow did it twice. In August 1945, Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip when the first bomb detonated. The blast threw him into a ditch, burned his face and arms, and ruptured his eardrums. Barely alive, he crawled through the ruins, found a shelter, and spent the night in a devastated city. The next morning, he boarded a train back home to Nagasaki. Think about that. A man who had just survived the world's first atomic bombing took a commuter train the next day. When he arrived, he went to a company meeting to explain what happened. His boss didn't believe him, and as Yamaguchi tried to describe the blinding flash he witnessed, the second bomb detonated. This time, he survived again. What are the odds of being within the blast zone of both atomic bombs and walking away? Statistically, almost non-existent. Yet Yamaguchi lived until 2010 and died at age 93. People debate whether this story shows the resilience of the human spirit or the universe's darkest sense of humor. Either way, it's one of history's wildest coincidences. 2. The Civil War bullet that made a baby. This one sounds like something from a 19th century tall tale, but it was reported in a medical journal at the time and repeated for decades. The bullet that impregnated a woman. During the American Civil War, a young soldier was shot in the groin. A few moments later, the same bullet, still moving with incredible force, struck a woman standing nearby. Months later, she gave birth to a baby boy. The attending doctor examined the child and supposedly found pieces of the bullet embedded in the infant. The story circulated widely in the 1800s, and newspapers called it a medical miracle. Today, historians believe the tale is almost certainly fabricated, possibly an inside joke among medical professionals that got out of hand. But here's what makes the coincidence part so fascinating. The doctor who reported it was known for delivering serious, legitimate medical cases. He claimed this one as fact, and for decades the public believed it wholeheartedly. It became one of the most repeated true stories of its time. It's a reminder that sometimes history isn't just strange, it's gullible. 3. The assassination coincidences between Lincoln and Kennedy. You've probably heard about some of these parallels before, but when you list them all together, the pattern seems almost unsettling. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy in 1960. Both were assassinated on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Both were succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson. Andrew Johnson for Lincoln, born in 1808, and Lyndon Johnson for Kennedy, born in 1908. Both assassins were known by 3 names, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald. Both names contain 15 letters. Booth shot Lincoln in a theater and fled to a warehouse. Oswald worked in a warehouse and fled to a theater. Even their killers share coincidences. Booth was killed before standing trial. Oswald was killed before standing trial. Some of these parallels can be explained by probability, others by historians stretching details to fit a pattern. But the sheer number of similarities has kept conspiracy theorists busy for decades. Coincidence? Maybe. Pattern-seeking human brains? Also extremely likely. But the list is eerie enough to make even skeptics pause. 4. The twins who lived identical lives, though they were raised apart. Imagine growing up not knowing you had a twin. Now imagine that when you finally meet that twin, you discover your lives were almost carbon copies. This happened to Jim Lewis and Jim Springer, identical twins separated at 4 weeks old and adopted by different families in Ohio. They met for the first time at age 39. The similarities in their lives were so extreme that psychologists used them as a case study for decades. Both had childhood dogs named Toy. Both married women named Linda. Both divorced and then married women named Betty. Both named their first sons James Allan, spelled Allan in one case. Both worked in law enforcement. Both drove the same model of Chevy. Both vacationed at the same Florida beach every year. The list goes on. Theories range from genetic predispositions to unconscious cultural influences. But the coincidence of two strangers living almost identical lives, even down to the names of their spouses, feels like reality bending in on itself. It remains one of the most extraordinary cases in behavioral psychology. 5. The baby who fell twice and landed on the same man. In the 1930s, a man named Joseph Figlock was working as a street sweeper in Detroit. One day, as he was passing an apartment building, a baby fell from a 4th-story window and landed directly on him. Remarkably, both Figlock and the baby survived. But here's where it gets bizarre. Almost exactly a year later, Figlock was sweeping in the same alley. The same baby, from the same window, fell on him again. They both survived again. The odds of a baby falling on a person from a building are already astronomically low. The odds of it happening twice to the same man, with the same baby, in the same place, defy almost every statistical model. Some coincidences feel like fate. This one feels like slapstick destiny. 6. The book that predicted the Titanic, 14 years early. In 1898, novelist Morgan Robertson published a book titled Futility. It told the story of a massive ocean liner called the Titan. The Titan was described as the largest ship in the world, considered unsinkable, sure to on lifeboats, striking an iceberg in the North Atlantic, sinking on an April night, causing massive loss of life. 14 years later, the RMS Titanic sank under almost identical circumstances. Robertson had no psychic powers. He later explained that he simply applied real shipbuilding trends of his time and imagined the worst-case scenario. But the number of details he got right, even the ship's name, still shocks people today. It's one of the most famous predictions in literary history. Not because of supernatural foresight, but because reality ended up copying fiction almost point for point. 7. The death of Edgar Allan Poe's Doppelgänger. Most people know Edgar Allan Poe for his haunting stories, but fewer know about the strangest coincidence surrounding his life. The bizarre case involving a man named Rufus Griswold. Griswold was a literary critic who despised Poe. After Poe's mysterious death in 1849, Griswold wrote the obituary under a fake name. In it, he painted Poe as a drunk, a madman, and a degenerate. This obituary shaped Poe's reputation for decades. Now here's the coincidence. Poe had written a fictional story years earlier about a man who was followed, sabotaged, and ultimately destroyed by his double. A doppelganger. Someone who looks like him, acts like him, and ruins his life. Griswold did exactly that in real life. He became Poe's posthumous double. Someone who took control of Poe's legacy, wrote his biography, fabricated letters, and spread lies that stuck. It was almost as if Poe had predicted the person who would haunt him after death. Was it coincidence? Irony? Karma? Historians still debate it. But the fact remains that Poe's fictional nightmare became his real legacy. History is full of patterns. Humans see shapes in randomness and narratives in chaos. Most coincidences are just math doing its weird, uncaring thing. But some moments feel different. A man surviving 2 atomic bombs. Twins living identical lives without ever meeting. A fictional ship foreshadowing one of the worst maritime disasters in history. These coincidences don't rewrite the laws of the universe, but they do remind us that reality is stranger than fiction. You can study statistics all day, but you'll never fully predict the bizarre ways life curves back on itself. If anything, these stories show that history isn't always logical. Sometimes it's a puzzle with missing pieces, and sometimes it's just the universe having fun at our expense. Thanks for watching. If you want more deep dives into hidden corners of history, mysteries, or unbelievable true stories, make sure you're subscribed for the next one.